my fellow greeny thumbs and all future greeny thumbs. So last night I finally got a bird of paradise plant. It has been a really long dream of mine to have one, but number one reason why I never got them was they're really hard to bring to a flower indoors. I don't think it's impossible, but it's just really a challenge and you have to be super patient. They are so much better if you can leave them outdoors during the summer or even during winter if you are in a climate where it's warm enough. I'm not. And I don't even have a balcony to put them outdoors. So, number two was that they are expensive. I mean, it's no wonder. These are fully mature plants normally that have been with the grower for quite a few years. So that cost a lot of money. I got this for an amazingly good price, so I couldn't say no and I had to grab it. Alright, so where to start? So let's start with the part that this is a fully mature plant and not your very cheap, less than 1 year old plant that you can buy at almost any green store. This means that this plant has been in perfect growing conditions for quite a while and all of a sudden it gets ripped away into the airplane, into the truck, no light, no water, a bit too cold, maybe too warm, and then at the store where it doesn't have light if it's not a greenhouse. So this plant has been under a lot of stress for quite a while, probably also has been bumped at a lot of times with all these ripped leaves. So yeah, you want to give it time to just getting used to your less than perfect growing conditions indoors. So that means don't repot them right after you get them, and that's the big difference between your very cheap plant versus a mature plant. Just give them time to settle down and get used to their new environment. Another thing that you should know about repotting a bird of paradise is the more room you give your bird of paradise, the more they grow leaf mass. And if you cut that back and you just leave them in the same pot for quite a long time, even if it gets cramped, then you can actually start to expect that they start to flower, especially if you leave them outdoors during the summer. If you have them all year round indoors, just count yourself lucky if you actually get a flower, because most of our apartments are just too dry, not enough light, and that's why they don't bloom indoors readily. So one of the first things you want to take care of with your new plant is making sure the water level in the soil is right. Oftentimes you get either overwatered or then entirely underwatered plants. And in this case, this Strelitzia or bird of paradise, its soil is bone dry, so you want to take care of that first. Use filtered water because the tap water is just not good enough for your plant. You have to remember, again, the example with rain. You want to go as close to nature as possible, and I think filtered water or then rainwater, if you have it, is one of the best solutions indoor. So during the warm month of the year, you can water this one plentifully and keep the soil evenly moist. Try to not overwater it and have waterlogging in the saucer beneath it, just because the roots like to rot. But during the winter time, as it is right now, just come back a little bit with the watering, just because it's not growing as fast as during the summertime. The bird of paradise, as we know, is a tropical plant, so high humidity is really great for this plant. But that's hard to achieve in our dry apartments, especially this apartment has radiators as heaters, so that makes the environment even more dry. So what I'm going to do is I have two saucers prepared. One, the bigger one, filled with water, just normal tap water, and then the inner one, the dry one, where the plant is actually going to be sitting. This way I have a constant evaporation of the water around the plant, which is going to help a lot. Also mist it twice a day if you can. She's going to appreciate it a lot. If not, what you can also do, place a wet towel close by, which is I'm going to do, because this one unfortunately has to be standing next to a radiator, which they really hate. If you have a spot far away from a radiator, close to a window, that's where you want to have your bird of paradise. So, but the wet towel, what will happen is through the heat from the radiator, the water will start to evaporate from the towel and go into the room environment, and hopefully this plant will be forgiving for living next to the radiator. We're gonna clean up this bird of paradise and get all the dust and dirt off the leaves, just to be able to give them as much sunlight onto the leaf to photosynthesize. And you might think it's just a little bit of dust, but actually for the plant that makes a huge difference. Maybe as a comparison, if you have just a little bit of dust on your glasses, you feel like it's super dirty, so you're gonna clean it up. So also clean your broad-leafed plants, and they're gonna be really happy about that. So I'm using white just so hopefully you can see a difference afterwards. And now to do that, it's quite simple. You grab your leaf, place it onto your arm, and then gently sweep the entire leaf and support it with your arm so you're not breaking the leaf endings even more. I'm not being super gentle here. And do it with every leaf. This is what I meant when I said it's just a little bit of dust. I'm actually surprised. I didn't think it would be that much of a difference, but there you have it. The leaves looked pretty shiny to me, so I'm really stunned how dirty they actually were, especially the lower ones. So just do that every couple of weeks to your plant, and she will be a lot happier. So as you might have realized, I've only cleaned the top side of the leaf and left the underside alone. And the reason for doing so are openings called stomata on the underside of the leaf. And that's, in a way, the plant's sweat glands, except it doesn't smell bad under there, unlike us. What happens is that the plant evaporates water as well as takes in CO2 for photosynthesizing. So by cleaning the underside, you actually might be clogging those openings. So just leave the underside as it is and only focus on the top side or on the stems. Alright, to wrap this up and summarize everything that we've talked about, be sure to check first the moisture level in the soil and use filtered water to have an evenly moist soil, a little bit less in the winter, a little bit more in the summer when the plant is growing. Then next, clean those beautiful broad leaves, but only the upper side and never the underside. Mist it on a daily basis, again with filtered water, and just try to increase the humidity around the plant, maybe with a double saucer as I showed you, or maybe you can create another type of water body around the plant. As for light, place it in the east or west window with a bright indirect light that plants really love. If it's direct sunlight in the morning hours or evening hours, that's totally fine. That type of light is quite soft compared to the midday light, and the Strelitzia actually doesn't mind it in those hours. The next video I'll be doing about the Strelitzia will of course be the repotting, and I'll be explaining everything about growing mediums as well as feeding the plant, something really important for the bird of paradise during the summer month. But until then, happy growing, and let me know in the comments below about your experience with the bird of paradise and what you are struggling with the most.